Today we're joined by Phil Mote, CEO of WellSafe. Phil, if you can just share a little bit about yourself.
Yep. So Phil Milton, CEO, one of the founders of WellSafe Solution. We're the team that took the concept from an idea in a few of our heads to the market back in 2017.
Yeah, fantastic. So we'll come on to WellSafe in a minute, but we'll start off with you yourself. So you started within the oil and gas industry with Halliburton as an apprentice.
Yep.
So how did you get from there to where you are today?
Yeah, a bit of a kind of long roundabout journey, to be perfectly honest. Left school, went in apprenticeship with Halliburton back in our growth under the manufacturing side of things. So basically working through the apprenticeship, working in machine shops, welding, etc. Finished my apprenticeship, had a spell out of the industry, just a short period, and then went offshore in, I think it was 1990, if I remember right. That was going offshore with a company called WellServe, so not too far away from WellSafe.
Is that where the name came from?
No, there was a bit of it in there, to be perfectly honest, but no, it was kind of a new start. But
what were you doing there?
So I went offshore as basically a slickline trainee, so running wireline, and then started there, worked my way up through from an apprentice to an operator to supervisor to a well services supervisor. Came on shore in 1999, 2000.
Yeah.
At that point, looking as a desk engineer running offshore well services programs on the Murchison and the Hutton TLP back in those days for Kerr-McGee.
Yeah.
And then moved on from Kerr-McGee, sold the assets to CNR, moved to CNR, and then left CNR, went to Shell for a period, back to CNR, and then launched WellSafe in 2017. So always been in the industry, always working wells, around wells, but it's moved from kind of running well ops to, running projects to project team lead to various different positions within.
And so it's being with large operators like CNR and Halliburton and different companies. How do you go for these large organizations with lots of structure, processes, procedures to a startup? What's the mindset there?
You definitely have to have a shift in the mindset. I guess working with organizations like CNR, although it was a big organization, it was quite a small nucleus, and it like the team. It was a really strong team. They worked with fit for purpose kind of procedures, processes. So I guess kind of taking some of that mindset away into a startup organization and thinking about, right, we started with WellSafe with no business management system, ops management system, safety management system, no accreditation. So you were basically starting with a blank sheet of paper. So it was really good in one way because it gave you an opportunity to say, right, we need to build all of this, slightly daunting as that was, but also what it meant is you didn't have to take, where I'd been involved in this before was where you'd had different organizations coming together and you had to try and blend those two different cultures and processes and procedures into one.
Yeah.
And that can be just as difficult sometimes as starting from scratch and building a new one. So you take bits of it away, but you have to definitely, there was a switch to, instead of going to reach for a procedure or a process, you kind of had to go build one. Yeah, exactly.
And I guess for an operator perspective, you guys are kind of managing or overseeing projects, whereas WellSafe, you're actually able to deliver them. So there must be a mindset shift there, or
Again, I think, so what we've tried to create in the business is and the vision right from the start was to create this, I guess, opportunity to have an outsourced type solution. It doesn't have to be an outsourced solution. So we've tried to build the business up in a way that you can effectively pick and choose the bits that you want. So if you just want a rig, or you just want engineering, or you want rig and engineering and services. So it's very much a kind of modular type model that you can build up. Yes, because I mean every customer's generally looking for something a little bit different. Yeah. But what we wanted to try and build was just a different way of delivering decom.
And who came up with that?
There was a combination of different people. So there was a lot of the team that came in initially pre-startup. So some of the team that was there that kind of came from a well background. Some came from a non-well background. Some came from suppliers.
Whose idea was it?
I guess it's something. Again, it kind of grew over years. It was always my last project or my last role at CNR was their well P&A team leader. So I ran the P&A team on behalf of CNR for delivery of Murchison. And when we were doing that process, we looked at contracting models, we looked at processes, procedures, how you delivered it, how you optimize it, and the framework that you had to work within. And also what was out there in the supply chain. So when you were looking for something a little bit different, it wasn't always available.
Yeah.
So we kind of took all of those different component parts, put it together and said, well, what would good look like, or what could good look like?
Yeah.
And then trying to then piece that all together to come up with a solution.
What made you then decide to go do that? Because you were in, I'm guessing, a pretty safe, secure situation, working within an operator, well paid. What made you then decide, fuck it, I'm going to go for this and start this on my own?
I guess determination, wanting to do something different. I've always been pretty driven in terms of want to build on my career, but also wanting to do something a little bit different. So I wanted to be part of a team that could build well safe, right? Build that vision. So kind of driven by that all the way along. And looking back, it's been 8 years. We just turned 8 years on the 1st of August. It's been an adventure. Some really, really highs, some lows as
I remember your first offshoot in 2017, you were getting trees chopped in.
Oh, because it was hitting the bridge for the cross
your banner.
For the banner. I know, trimmed rather than chopped down, trimmed. That was the big launch. I mean, we were literally, I think we launched on the 1st of August, and I remember day one, it was a team of 6 of us. And we were basically going down to Staples to get notepads and pens and all the rest, everything. So we were literally starting from scratch on day one. And, offshore Europe, a month later, we had the stand there, the team on the stand. And, that's the first time I've ever really done that. In terms of participating on a stand.
So what were you promoting there? Because you're a month old.
It was a vision, right? This is
brand.
This is the brand. This is who we are. This is where we want to go. This is the model we want to bring, and this is why we think it's a good model. And I guess the rest is, has been building towards that. But I remember coming off at the end of the Friday, I was knackered. Couldn't believe how tiring it was, because the stand was really busy. We got a huge amount of
people want to know what's been on.
It was good.
Who is this? What's
brilliant. Yeah, it was quite it was quite an interesting week. It was really good fun, actually. Yeah, really good.
And then, so where are you now? You've been in an operator, you've started this company, CEO of the company. For you, there's probably people who look up to you. You probably spoke at schools and spoke to younger students and graduates and whatever else. But for yourself, do you have any mentors that kind of have guided you and how you would lead? Yeah,
I mean, there's lots of people throughout your career that make impressions on you. And I'm no different in that respect. Our chairman, Alistair Locke, who's also one of the founders and majority shareholder in the business, Alistair's been a fantastic mentor through this process. When things get a little bit tough, he's there to support, but he's also there to kind of give you the guidance when needed. So he's been a massive, I guess, help and part of that journey. We've got a really good team throughout WellSafe, but the team that's been there, we all lean heavily on each other. So although I'm the chief executive, I'm just part of that team that's helped to build it and be part of it, right? So and then leading up to that, I've worked with a lot of really great people throughout my career, going right way back to my journeyman when I was an apprentice, old Bill back in Halliburton. He kind of helped you through that initial stage. So I think almost when you break your career journey into different stages, then there's been key people in there. I worked very closely with Dave Whitehouse during my time at CNR. Dave was really influential, during that period. I really enjoyed working with him, and now have the pleasure of working with him through the board at OE UK. So lots of different people really have played a big part in it.
Perfect. And then with regards to WellSafe, so you've kind of talked about what the vision was or what inspired you to do that, but for the industry, for like sort of 2014 leading through, we had some tough times, but decom was kind of something that was kind of spoken about, but nobody wanted to spend money on. So why did you decide, or not just you, but you as a group, decide, we're gonna really drive decom?
I think there was a combination of different things. One, and you know, so I remember when we were basically doing the initial, I guess, pulling together the concept and going out and pitching it to various investors, to private equity, you know, and engaging with the markets that are out there to sort of say, like, this is an idea that we have.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of really interesting discussions there. And one of the big discussions was always, well, what makes you think it's going to happen now? And that was in kind of 2016, early 2017, when we first started to test the concept. And I guess where we felt at that time was the market was the basin was maturing.
Yeah.
Assets were moving closer to cessation of production, moving close to needing decommissioning. There was a huge amount of backlog of old wells that had been shut in for quite some time that were ready to be decommissioned. There just seemed to be a movement in the market in the UK to move towards that. So I guess when we looked at that, we felt that the time was right to start that process. And we also knew, really realistically, starting in 2017, we needed to build up the brand. We needed to get all our systems and processes in place. We needed accreditation. So it was going to take a couple of years anyway, really, to get to that position where you had things ready and you could go in and demonstrate to your customers that you were a credible organisation and you had the accreditation, the systems and all the rest of it to deliver what is, effectively, it's a really complex service for our customers.
And during that time, I remember going to St Andrews a lot for decom events and everything else, and there was every single company rebranded as decom something or something decom. I guess for your side, did you have no inside knowledge, but you're working with operators, you're speaking to other operators, you know the situation, you know where there will be opportunity.
Yeah.
Did that help? Because none of the companies really exist anymore.
I think there's a couple of different things there, I think, really. I think it's what's your USP, right? So what makes you unique in terms of that decommissioning?
You tried to do something really different.
We did. So we tried to, I guess, my background had been in operators and some of the other teams. So we've got a great blend in WellSafe. We've got some ex-operators, some ex-drilling contractors, some ex-service companies. So you can kind of see, what's the requirements from a service company's point of view, what's the requirements from a drilling contractor, and what's the requirements from an operator. So I guess you can kind of look through the challenges through your customer's eyes to a degree and understand, well, what's the challenges that they face? How can you then come along with a solution that helps address some of those challenges, simplifies them, hopefully, and gives them, I guess, a unique offering to try and address some of those challenges. So that bit, I think, has been useful for us to be able to look through those different lenses. But then also kind of looking at it, well, when I was trying to deliver decommissioning or be a part of a team that was delivering an entire decommissioning project, what were the different parts and what was my background, and then how would I use that to move it forward?
You mentioned you started August 2017 and it was a couple of years of getting processes, structure in place before you could go and offer a service to a client. When you started that and you're going out for investment, whatever else, what was your plan at that point? When did you think you would be in a position to go, we'd sell something?
Well, I guess, so we wanted to be in a position from day one, effectively. And I had a small engineering and project management company that was basically sold into WellSafe as part of the startup of WellSafe. So we had existing contracts and service provision that we were providing to some customers that transferred across into WellSafe. So I guess from day one
it was revenue generating.
It was revenue generating. We were providing the service under the old contracts that were novated across to WellSafe as part of that process. So that was good. But we then had to build upon it. And I guess, like most companies, you start out with what does your 5-year plan look like, and realistically, what are the stages that you're going to go through as part of that growth? So we set that out very early on and kind of leading up to the business. So as part of the pitch to investors, we had to set out, well, what does that plan look like? What does the revenue potential look like? What does the investment?
You're going to be being a no disrespect, but a small project management type engineering offering that you're operating there, to then being massively capital intensive, looking to get funding to buy assets and everything else. So what's the challenges then in taking this, what is this small business to this?
How much time have we got?
3 assets. Yeah, I mean, that's not an easy ask.
It's not, and it's a big ask. So, but again, so what you need to do is you build a team, right?
Yeah.
So investors invest in people generally, right? So they'll invest in an idea. Is the idea solid? Is there a market there? What does the addressable market look like? And who are the team that are going to deliver it? So we deliberately went out and grabbed some of the best people and the most experienced people that we could grab and
To make it more
pull them in.
Yeah, more.
And it makes it more investable because then you can demonstrate there's a competency and there's a team that's there that have the capability and have delivered projects of this nature before. Then what does the size of the market look like? Well, it's massive, right? I know the figures that are here in the UK alone when
We've spoken about for years.
absolutely, and when you zoom that out to the global market, then it's a significant prize. So then how do you then start to build that up? I remember when we first started, we were looking for big investment numbers, right?
Yeah.
And that was, we kind of quickly decided, like, that's probably not the right approach, because to try and grab those big numbers at the very beginning, you need to demonstrate capability. You've got to have a track record. So you have to build into that. So that's where we started to go for. I wouldn't say they were small investments. They're still very sizable investments, but they were more in building row rather than let's take in a huge amount right at the beginning.
And what kind of investment were you looking for then at the start? Was it investment to go and buy an asset, or?
Oh, it was originally it was like, right, okay, well, what do we need to deliver the 5-year plan?
Yeah.
Right, so we need that number and we need to buy these amount of assets and this will deliver the 5-year plan with a return of X, Y, and Z. And that was a big number, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, well, you're jumping to the end game, but also you've effectively got that debt to service over a longer period of time as well. So really what you want to do is you only want to bring in enough
to keep you moving.
But having that
stage.
I guess having that capability to lean on the next stage where you want to, or when you're ready to.
Yeah.
And that's what our investors have given us. They've given us that opportunity to, if we deliver that phase and then we're making good progress, then there's
what was the process then going out and finding that investment? Was it UK investment? Was it international investment? Was it individuals? Was it private equity?
No, so it's all. We've got a number of different investors that are in the organisation. There's kind of groups of them, but they're all private, high net worth individuals that are invested in. Yeah.
Okay, and then just on that, then finding an asset, because you didn't have an asset, and there was lots of talk. And I remember when you did eventually take a diamond rig.
Yeah.
It was quite big news, even though there wasn't any actually news for you guys. But everybody in the industry had knew that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, say if I've got an asset.
Yeah.
So
it was a really. I remember it was going through the process of, I guess, engaging through brokers and then engaging with Diamond at the time to explore the opportunity to buy what was the Guardian and subsequently became the Wellsafe Guardian.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting, nerve-wracking, exciting, but learned a lot, and it was really good. And then the excitement building up to actually getting the press releases and stuff like that, I would say that we'd bought it, and it was really interesting because, I mean, effectively you had to invest in buying the unit to be able to participate in the tenders. So you couldn't go into tenders for work and say, well, we're going to have a rig and it might look like this. You're never going to win a tender.
You need the asset.
You've got to buy the asset, you've got to invest in the asset, you've got to get it ready to go to work.
Do you have a timeline then for sitting with an asset like that if you don't have it?
As short as possible is the honest answer.
And has there been times in this where you're thinking, fuck it, we're close to the bone here, or this was a bad idea? Or?
Oh, look, I think anybody that doesn't kind of go through that in a journey through business, I think I've either been very, very lucky, or
But these are big numbers. These are
the big numbers.
Always and just shut the door and start again here.
Look, we've grew from 6 to over 430 employees. You know, so we grew. Sadly, over the course of the last few months, we've had to trim back and we've had to let some really talented people go, which is always a really difficult thing to have to do.
Yeah.
But hopefully, we're on the cusp of turning that around again and being able to kind of bring that back forward. So has there been times that we've kind of gone through the process and gone, geez, this is hard.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of times.
But that's part of growth.
It's part of growth, but it's part of development as well, right? So each individual in our organisation have grown from me as the CEO, as the CEO of a team of 6, to the CEO of a team of 430. Huge development for me, lots of learning, but likewise for everybody else in the team. So a lot of the team that are with us have been with us since day one. And they've gone from different positions in the organisation and have gone up as well. And that's great to see, because that's when you can see the benefits that we're all experiencing together. And what's really interesting is we all kind of go through those highs and lows together.
What kind of culture do you have within that business? And is it the same culture or the same drive and belief that you had when it was 6 people versus 420 people?
I think you would want to try and keep it the same. I think it's really difficult in practice to do that. I mean, when you're a team of 6 sharing a small office, everybody's...
It's a lot cozier.
Yeah, and you know what everybody's doing. When you're 400 plus people, or, you know, it's very difficult to continue to do that, because although we try to keep a relatively flat organisation, there still has to be, you know, I've got my job to do. The managers and directors have got their job to do, the team leaders have got their job. So I guess it's just trying to get that balance. We try and keep comms as fluid and as open as we possibly can. We can always do better. I think there is never, I think anybody that says that our comms are perfect, they're not, they won't. And I might think my comms are really good. Some of the team might say Phil's comms are rubbish. So just fair enough.
And the name WellSafe, so where did that come to then?
It was, again, just a combination, right? So, you know, obviously we're very well focused. So that's what we're focused. That was the whole thing. And we wanted to make the well safe. So not to say that they're unsafe, but the safest well, when it's finished and you've done all the stuff you need to do, is by decommissioning it. So it was kind of building that on that. And then the solution bit was really a kind of, again, it was sort of what we wanted to be seen as was a solution provider.
So the modular side of things.
Yeah, so again, we're not a drilling contractor, we're not a pure service company, we're not an operator as in an oil and gas operator, but we do bridge all three of them to a degree. You know, when you look at the well engineering, project management, subsurface capability we have, that kind of bridges into a little bit of the operator side. We run rigs, we're a duty holder, that rub. So we do have all of those capabilities. But what we wanted to do is to be able to say to our customer, well, what's the solution that you need? So and then that modular bit then fits into that.
So I guess we'll go into just discussing the challenges then. You started in 2017. Don't have assets, you're building the structure, compliance, everything else. But during that time, we've had a massive downturn in oil and gas. We've had COVID, and then we've got everything else is going well in the gas in the North Sea at the moment. How have you guys? You mentioned that you've grown from 6 to 420, but you have had little dips there. Where
sure, yeah.
So what kind of impact has that been? And what's been the biggest challenge?
I guess there's been lots of challenges, but lots of opportunities. So I guess, you know, some people say it's like being on a roller coaster, and I think it is, because you know, the highs are high, the lows are lows. You know, I remember when back in 2020 when we all got that, I guess, the news break from Boris standing up saying, right, everybody go home, or and we'll be back in touch type of thing. And we hadn't long moved into our office up at Gateway, so we'd moved out H1 and we'd moved into this beautiful new office. Everybody was in, we were getting the team together, we were moving forward, we were getting ready, there was contract negotiations ongoing, things were looking okay, you know. And then the COVID pandemic arrived in the UK, or arrived globally, and changed all of that. So it was quite a surreal period of time, and everybody, like, we all went through that together. So I think there was, the one thing about that was everybody kind of went through it together. So everybody, whether you were in this industry or any other industry, kind of looked at each other and kind of went,
what's the plan here?
Don't know what we're going to do here. So it kind of felt a little bit different because we were all in it together. Difficult for our team because our teams were growing, they were new. You were trying to build a team, you were trying to build a culture, you were trying to build teamwork. You know, I'm a really strong believer in a one team approach wherever possible. Not always easy, but I think it's one that it does pay dividends really if you can get to that. suddenly everybody heads off to their spare bedroom or their kitchen.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to do that. So yeah, I remember driving home that night and thinking, right, what on earth? How is this? Are we looking weeks? Is it months? Is it years? What?
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody had the same sort of thoughts. So when we came back from that, and it felt like we had a few false starts, and we were back in the office, then we were back out again, and certain parts of the industry, hospitality got absolutely hammered,
Yeah. Well, and at that point we thought it's a good time to open a bar.
Yeah, which and I, and we bought another rig. We bought the Protector right in the middle. I remember in September 2020 buying the Protector, being on a phone during one of the periods where you were allowed to move around again. And I remember standing on a phone call in the Highlands, kind of looking out over this view, talking to brokers and that about buying the Protector. So yeah, so I was really keen to get everybody back together as soon as we could, and it was safe to do so.
How was that then during that time for getting guys offshore, mobilising and stuff? Because there was lots of challenges around that.
It was. So at that particular time, we didn't have any. So we had the Guardian, and that was the only rig that we owned at that time, and it was up in the Cromarty. So we basically cut down to minimum manning on board because it wasn't going out to a project. All the projects
Didn't we still filming there at the time? You were.
That's right. That was right at the very beginning. So that was when we'd just finished we'd painted it all, we'd put the accommodation upgrades on, and we were basically doing its SPS, its big 5-yearly service and recertification. So we were doing all of that, and then we were just getting kind of moving forward, and then it was stop. We had a project ongoing for one of our customers it was a third party's rig that was out for that, and that customer decided kind of a couple of months into the project, in terms of post shutdown for COVID, it was like, right, we're going to suspend ops and come off. So we only had quite a short period of time where we were actually exposed to having to get people, to different locations and people on and off of the rigs. It was challenging though, right? It was really difficult on everybody. It was difficult for people leaving their families at home to go out to those rigs, and the uncertainty of, are the family going to be okay? What's that going to look like at home? As well as how much time do I need to spend in quarantine before I can go off to do the trip and come back? So really difficult for a lot of teams.
Yeah. And then more recent challenges, the EPL levy in the North Sea.
Yeah.
How has that impacted the decom market, but also for your perspective, the investment in the North Sea?
It's been like, if you think about COVID and how we were all in it together in terms of everybody went home and had all right, what does this mean? Excuse me, you're then moving on to EPL, and EPL, I've been in the industry for 30 years, give or take. Feels sometimes longer, feels sometimes less. And I think as part of that, we've gone through downturns, right? The industry's always been quite cyclic, but it's generally been commodity driven. So we've seen everywhere gets busy, everywhere gets quiet. It does tend to. The EPL has been really different this time because what we've seen is everywhere else globally, or most other locations globally, have continued to be busy or have got busier.
Even more buoyant.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And the UK hasn't. It's stagnated at best and got a lot worse in many areas. So I think that's been quite unique in terms of any other downturn that I've experienced based here in the UK. And it's made it even more difficult, because when downturns go globally, you don't have talent leaving the basin, you don't have capacity leaving the basin, whether that be service equipment, whether it be rigs, whether it be boats, whether it be it's people, it's everything. Whereas this time we're trying to deal with a situation where activity levels have gone really, really low here in the UK across the board, irrespective of whether it's decommissioning or drilling, development, or anything. But it's busy elsewhere. So what you've actually seen is a huge talent leak, where we've got a lot of talent have left either the industry or left the basin to go overseas. You've seen companies that have increased their focus on overseas markets, and you've seen assets, whether it be rigs, boats, whatever, either being retired or leaving the basin for other contracts. So this one's been really different for me personally and for us as a business. I think it's brought different challenges.
What's your thoughts going forward then? What's your thoughts for the North Sea or the next 3-5 years? Under this current EPL levy?
I think it's going to be really difficult. Really difficult. I think 2025, we've had to make really difficult choices early on in this year.
Due to this?
Due to the EPA. Well, the EPA, look, the impact is decommissioning has been slowed.
Yeah.
Due to the impact.
Everything has.
Everything has, right? And we made a strategic decision early this year where we said, right, we've got the assets and the skill sets to be able to cover the entire well life cycle. So from drilling to workovers to interventions to decommissioning, so kind of cradle to grave. So the rigs have the capability, our engineers have the capability, and our project teams have the capability.
Would it change your business plan then, or your structure, or your idea moving forward?
So what we had to listen to, so again, when we focused in on the UK, so some of our customers were coming in saying, look, we've got decommissioning programs that we want to deliver, but actually we also want to be able to maybe drill a well or drill a couple of wells and
Was
work
that
over
part of the original plan?
No, not part of the original plan. So the original plan was,
capability.
we do, and we've never disabled any of those, of that capacity or capability from the rig. So we can do that. But we specifically sort of said, no, let's be really unique in the decom side. And we still are in that respect, but effectively what we've done is we've just opened up that to the full well life cycle.
Yeah.
And I think that was to allow our one, to make sure that if you look at the number of units that are left, i.e. drilling rigs that are left here in the UK, if we want to start increasing or maintaining production levels, you're going to have to do work on wells, whether that's workovers, well intervention or drilling. There's not many units left.
Yeah.
So to give us that energy security and be able to maximise what we need to get from our own resources here in the UK, it's actually quite important for us strategically as well to basically open up that a little bit more so that we can...
So could there be some advantages then for you guys?
I think so, yeah. I mean, ultimately, if those tenders that are coming out and that have come out where they might want to have a blend, we might have been ruled out because the customer might have said, well, look, if you're not prepared to go and do this bit, then we can't include you in it. So it's absolutely vital that we listen to our customers first and foremost, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then respond to those changes. And
we're seeing the same. We're seeing a massive uptake, and same when you go to different events, ADPEC, OTC. The amount of companies from Aberdeen, well, almost all the companies now from Aberdeen are looking internationally. They're looking at where they can find work. We're seeing companies from here now in Aberdeen that Asia is very buoyant for them. They're doing really well in Asia. They're doing well in the Middle East, Gulf of America or Gulf of Mexico, in the Middle East. So even Africa, we're seeing huge amount of work, and then the reality is they're getting better margin. That's not coming back. That supply chain is almost gone, and the longer this goes on, the less chance of that supply chain surviving here.
Yeah, look, the way I always look at it is there's a resource pool globally, right? So whether that's people, equipment, and all means of equipment, we continue to attract or try to attract new talent and to replenish that, right? Because we've got an aging workforce. Yeah. So effectively, and
the cycles affect that as well.
It does, absolutely, and quite significantly. So you've got to continue to attract the talent into the industry, because we're going to need it. You know, everybody, even the UK government have said recently, we're going to need oil and gas 2050 and beyond. It's all going to be part of it.
Continue to increase.
Absolutely. So while demand's there, we've got to sort out the supply. So there's that part of it, and then, but if you look at the other parts, very very little investment has gone into new rigs, whether that be semi-submersibles, jackups. Yeah. It's been really slowed down a lot over the last few years, just because of the way the market conditions are. Plus the costs are significantly higher. So to go and build a brand new unit now is you are looking at hundreds of millions of pounds of investment, potentially depending on the spec into $1 billion market sort of range. So it's huge investments, and what you're looking for is a return on that investment, as any business is. So there's different elements of that. One is on the return on investment is, well, what's the profitability of it? But what's the utilisation look like? And over the last few years, we've seen it's been so cyclical over that utilisation and so difficult to predict. It makes it really difficult to look at those investments on a longer term basis. So when you talk about some of the companies leaving the UK and moving to overseas, sometimes that's because they're getting better margins, but actually a lot of time it's because the contract durations are longer. So instead of getting maybe
more stability,
2 or 3 wells, 4 wells, 5 wells here, they're getting 3-year contracts, 2-year contracts overseas. So it gives them much more stability in terms of, right, what does my utilisation look like on that asset, whatever it may be. So I think that's a key part of it as well.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess some of our supply chain companies here are well, many of them are global companies, and when you're thinking about a global HQ, wherever that may be in the world, they're looking at where can they deploy their resources to get the best return. And if you've got a yard full of
Or where do they
equipment,
keep their kit?
yeah, you've got a yard full of equipment sitting here in the UK that's not getting utilised, and you've got a demand for it somewhere else in the world.
Getting shit.
It's getting moved,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't like using the term "use it or lose it," but that's the deal that we're trying to fight with.
There's no value sitting in a car park, is there?
There's no, and there's individuals here in the UK are fighting hard to keep that capacity here in the UK to service what we know needs to be done.
Yeah.
But that's a very difficult one when global HQ is saying, well, you're not making money today, guys, and I can make money over here, so let's go.
Yeah, we've seen that here. Even a few of the companies we speak to here, they're saying, well, we're actually looking at moving our office to Houston because we get the opportunities to bid for the larger pieces of work, but because we don't have day-to-day kit sitting there, we don't get the phone calls to say, can you support this or can you support this? So the smaller projects, they don't get the opportunity. So they're looking at, well, we're not getting the opportunity in Aberdeen, so we can move to Houston.
Yeah.
There is obviously cost and things related to doing that, and you guys have done that. You set up in Australia.
Yeah.
So how did you decide to do that?
So again, we kind of looked at it from a point of view of, I guess, tried to replicate what we've done here and the decisions that we've done here, and try and avoid the ones that we didn't get right, because there's been plenty of them. But also like looking at it from a point of view of what's the maturity of the basin, right? So again, Australia's mature. There's a lot of new fields coming on still there, but there's a lot of mature fields that are nearing that point in their life cycle where they may be looking at being decommissioned and removed. When you also look at the operating parameters that you're working under, so again, looking at the regulatory requirements. So if you look at the Australian market, it tends to look towards OEUK guidelines as best practice, for want of a description. But so again,
that's the same for a lot of parts of the world.
It is. So again, there's some areas don't, and I guess our value proposition at some of those areas is probably limited.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're working with other areas that are working with quite a high bar in terms of your governance, your requirements, and I'm not saying these other areas aren't, but again, there's locations where our model is better fitted. Yeah. So we kind of look at that. You look at the maturity of the basin, and then you look at the assets that are likely to be deployed to address that market, and that's the way we kind of choose. Right, well, where are we going next? So we've got an office in Kuala Lumpur as well. And we've got a small team there, and just starting to really build on that.
What are you seeing opportunities then?
Southeast Asia is definitely. Australia was looking like it was going to be really busy. It's slowed. I think that'll start to build back up again in 2026.
Okay.
Probably 25 is going to be quite tight. And then really you look at the Brazilian market, West Africa. So yeah, there's lots of
all of
areas.
Seem very buoyant. There's so much interest in that Brazil right now.
There is,
especially from our supply chain here.
Yeah,
it's a huge market.
Well, and you talk to some of your peers that are here in the UK, and there's some companies and management teams that I talk to that their business used to be 96% UK and 4% overseas. It's now 4% UK and 96% overseas.
The opposite.
Yeah, I mean, massive swings in some of those. So we're not there. Our overseas contribution is relatively small at the moment, but I guess our vision is to grow and
challenge-wise in Australia specifically. So that was your first international hub.
It was, yeah.
So what kind of challenges have you found there that you can either not do again or transfer and get right in Brazil or Kuala Lumpur?
I think that they're so different, the markets. It's difficult to actually take. So there's learning. I mean, the difficult one is always the when.
Yeah.
Not if it'll happen, is when will it happen. So going back to the conversation earlier on about what made you think it was the right time when we started WellSafe. Well, we thought it was the right time for Australia. It kind of was, but then it stopped, but it'll build again. So it's trying to get that timing right, which is best will in the world. We all kind of go, right, we think this is the right time. We've got to a little bit of that. An educated guess where you're kind of going, right, What does the market look like? How big is it? Is it ready to move forward? What does the regulatory regime look like in that area? Are they pushing to get the work done? Are they not pushing to get the work done? So there's lots of different factors that feed into. So I guess you kind of have to factor all of that in, but then you have to factor in the nuances of each region or country, because they're all very different. The contracting requirements, the setup requirements are different. The operating parameters are different. You look at Australia, you know, environmentally in terms of taking equipment in and out is really, really very strict. So again, there's additional barriers to entry for that. So how do you factor that in? So yeah, each location brings its own opportunities and challenges, but it's trying to identify them and then pick out which you're best suited to kind of to move forward on. And
then you mentioned, you know, aging talent pool within the oil and gas industry globally.
Looking at myself, obviously.
Whatever, right? But that is definitely the case. So how do you, what is that, when you break it down into the decom market, what is that like for attracting people and maintaining and growing people within that specific area of the industry?
If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have said it's pretty healthy.
Okay.
So again, because where we were being able to leverage on that was the decom market was coming towards us, and it's significant, right? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done over the course of the next 20, 30, 40 years. And as we continue to create new developments globally, then ultimately they'll have to be decommissioned at some point in the future. So when you were going out to schools and colleges and universities and talking about decommissioning, you could show a pathway to a career, right? So that you've got a career opportunity in front of you. Absolutely. I think that's still there. I think, but the bump that we've had more recently, it makes it more, it's more challenging when you're going back out and you're saying, so you guys said a year or 2 years or 3 years ago that there was this, but what you've done is you've come off of that ramp again.
What's went wrong there? Or how do we, what's the message to attracting more people into that?
I think it's basically continuity. So, you know, we've talked for many, many years in the industry about collaboration and about utilization of those skill sets, and how do we put together those campaigns of work, because we all know that if you campaign work, you get better at it, the better you get, the more efficient and safer you are. The more efficient and safe, the lower the cost ultimately. Is that where you want to get to? So I guess it's we kind of know that as an industry. We need to get behind it, implement it, and actually then we can demonstrate to the new talent that's coming in, we'll get it, we're on it, and we're moving forward. But I actually also think that unlocks other opportunities, because I think it unlocks R&D opportunities. So,
which is massive here.
It's huge, right? And if you think about it, why would you go and spend money on R&D today when you don't know if that work's going to come this month, next year, or if it's going to be 3 years down the road? If it's going to be 3 years down the road, I'm not going to spend money on tools for that. I'll wait until another 18 months, 2 years, and when I know it's definitely coming, then I'll start spending the money. Or actually, once I see it delivering and being delivered consistently, then I'll spend money on it. And particularly in a position where we are in the UK just now, where capital is really quite tricky to come about, because investor confidence is pretty low in our industry at the moment. So they're looking for confidence to be rebuilt, to be able to unlock that investment. There's a huge amount of talent and some great companies here in the UK that have got global opportunities, but we kind of need to unlock that. And I think it will get better, but we've got a bit of work to do there. So I think once we do that, then we can start to get those apprenticeship programs, graduate programs back under, because we've got to invest in our future talent. But even that, develop the young workforce. You know, what the team there are doing for youngsters is great. You know, exam results came out. You know, you look at, some will be absolutely over the moon, got what they want, got their career path. Others won't. So again, it's kind of sitting down and sort of saying, well, there are different options, there are different paths, and look at doing things differently.
Yeah, for sure. And then for WellSafe itself, what's the biggest opportunities for you guys over the next 5 years, 10 years?
I think you know, unlocking what we've got here in the UK. Right. So we've got a huge amount of work to do here. We're formed in Scotland, right? We're Aberdeen. We're a UK company. There's a huge opportunity here. I want to continue to invest in the UK to deliver what we know is in front of us, but I also want to grow that global offering and that global opportunity. So those
the market's there.
It's there, and it's coming towards us. And again, what what we ideally we want to do is we want to continue to invest in assets and invest in talent, right?
Yeah.
Whether that be here in the UK or overseas, and really just continue to build on what we've done to date, get better at it, continue to learn, continue to improve, continue to attract talent. When we do all of that, we get the good results for our customers. Our customers, we've seen some repeat business coming back to us, which is the better form of
Fantastic.
advertising that you can get, and it's a real, I guess it's a real incentive for the teams, because, you know, we've always said to them, look, perform well, do your job safely, do a good job for our customers, and our customers will come back.
Yeah.
And they're doing that, and therefore it reinforces that.
And the opposite side of that question then, what's the biggest challenges you foresee for the next 5-10 years?
I think when you know, the ongoing challenge around the UK fiscal Mars is it's real, right?
Yeah.
It's affecting us all, and you know, WellSafe relies on the huge amount of supply chain partners to deliver what we need to deliver and what we need to deliver for our customers. So we're a spoke in that wheel.
Yeah.
If we don't see all parts of the life cycle being active and being busy, then the chances are the supply chain partners that we need to help us deliver, they won't be there.
Yeah.
So if they then aren't there, then that affects our ability to deliver the projects for our customers.
Yeah.
So there's a knock-on effect. So every single spoke in that wheel is critical.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if drilling's not busy, then some of the services that you need in drilling and decommissioning might not be here.
Yeah.
So, you know, we need drilling to happen, we need well intervention to happen, and we need decommissioning to happen. So you need it all to happen so that all aspects are kept busy and they can keep the equipment and the talent here.
And recently you were awarded a $45 million contract, or potentially $45 million contract. What does that mean to WellSafe?
Oh, brilliant. You know, we're over the moon, because particularly after the year that we've had in terms of having to let some of the talent that the team that we've had go, this gives us the opportunity over the next few months to start to build up and hopefully, if that team are still available, bring them back on board and get ourselves ready for the rig to go back.
So this wasn't something that was expected then a couple of months ago?
Well,
Changes that quick? Or?
No, I mean, look, these things take time to go through the process, but you know, unfortunately or unfortunately, depends the way you look at it. A contract is never a contract until the contract is signed.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can, with the best intentions in the world, while you're negotiating a contract, whether it be through the legal...
Especially in the industry, we saw a lot of things being pushed back more recently
absolutely.
than ever before.
Yeah, and we've been in a position before, on multiple occasions, quite frankly, where we've been very close to signing the contract, and something's happened, be COVID, be EPL, whatever,
You just never know.
where all of a sudden that work has been cancelled or postponed.
Yeah.
And therefore you can't go on the basis of, you've got to make difficult decisions. We all have to do it in our lives at times. You've got to do it at the right time. We had to make those decisions at the right time.
Yeah.
What I wanted to be able to do is obviously try and reverse that as soon as we can, to try and get the teams back in. But it's a huge message for us.
Yeah.
You know, delighted for the team, quite frankly, because, you know, when I was up in the office, it's a real buzz. It's brought a real buzz back about the office. But what it also helps is, you know, and you see the feedback from Enquest in the press announcement is, you know, it helps to anchor that supply chain, and that's absolutely the case. So
like you said, that filters through that.
It does.
Contract.
So you know, because we won't be delivering that on our own.
Yeah.
There'll be all the other services that are part of that. Those services now can go back to their management teams or their HQs and say,
we're getting an order for
that contract's been awarded.
Yeah.
So we know there's firm work coming now, and therefore, you know, this works. So it does filter down. So it's really important.
How do you celebrate a $45 million deal coming through?
So I
don't think you'd see me for a month.
I'm really bad at, so again, one of, you know, you go through strengths and weaknesses. I'm terrible at like celebrating success. So and one of the things,
looking forward.
Well, yeah. So one of the feedback from the team is, you know, we need to celebrate successes, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Right, what's next?
Yeah.
So I'm bad at not celebrating success. I did crack open a tinny or two last night just to celebrate the fact that it was all signed off and whatnot. But I think, you know, from our point of view, it's really kind of given the team that opportunity. We've got a summer barbecue coming up, so
excellent.
We'll kind of roll them together and try and do what we can do to celebrate it.
Brilliant.
But you've got to try and celebrate it I've taken on the feedback from
time.
the team. Yeah, absolutely. Because things are you've got to you've got to move on to the next thing. So what's next? You know, things are starting to look a bit busier out there, which is good.
Yeah.
Long may it continue. Get a few more of these kind of contracts awarded and over the line. It will give the supply chain and the investors in those supply chains a little bit more confidence that the UK is actually starting to move again.
Perfect. And then last question, since we're in a tap room, what is your drink of choice?
It's usually wine.
Wine.
Yeah, that would probably be my go-to. So yeah, a beer, but wine's probably the one I enjoy the most.
Perfect. Phil, thank you very much for taking part.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.